You don't need to feel like it to create art. We very rarely have these moments of inspiration, and most of the time they're somewhere really inconvenient, like in the shower or walking through the supermarket, and the best we can do is just scribble those down and hope we remember them. So the majority of the time you're not going to be in that feeling of inspiration and motivation when you start. You just need to start. By starting, by doing, that leads to more inspiration and motivation. I want to clarify why just starting actually works. Last night I sat down with my sketchbook, opened up the page, looked down at it, and just saw that blank page staring back up at me. I've been planning on drawing some fantasy landscapes, waterfalls, that kind of thing. I'd even looked up reference photos, so I was prepared really. But when it came to it, I still found myself staring at this blank page. And now it was a new sketchbook, but not a particularly important sketchbook. It was relatively cheap. I'd already started doing watercolour swatches in the back. I was starting a few pages in. I wasn't feeling precious about this sketchbook. I was feeling a major case of that blank page syndrome, or art block is another good name for it. And even if you have plenty of ideas on what to do, just getting those ideas from your head to the paper can feel really overwhelming. And fundamentally, the desire is there, but you feel this inability to actually start. Take a look at how you're feeling at the time that you're experiencing that blank page syndrome. Have you had a particularly hard or stressful day? Have there been issues with friends, family, work, your health? Are you just feeling fatigued in general? Are you particularly anxious about something coming up or something that's happened in the past? Really deep dive into how you're feeling, because a lot of the time I find when I have the worst blank page syndrome is when I've had a particularly hard or tiring day. Which is why I find answering the question, why do I want to draw, particularly effective, because a lot of the time it's to help me relax, to help me unwind, and to simply take my mind somewhere else. And what should you do when you're feeling this art block or blank page syndrome? Well, you've probably heard it before, but the most important thing you can do is just start. I want to clarify why just starting actually works. You want to try and make sure there is little barriers to you starting as possible, and start with physically. So ideally you'd have a little area set up where that's your art area. You can go there, everything's laid out, so you don't have to worry about finding your pens, finding your paper. Having it accessible really breaks down that barrier to starting. You also really want to make sure you've not got any distractions. So that would be TVs, phones, and people around you, or anything that you find distracts you from getting started. Your procrastination tools, so to speak. And go as simple as you need to just get started. Grab just a piece of paper or any old sketchbook and a pen. Sit down with it in front of you and put that pen to that page and just draw a line. If you're really struggling with drawing a line, think about some words you could write, some ideas, brainstorm, anything. As soon as you get that hand moving, you're more likely to continue doing what you're doing, and that will lead you to artwork, to creativity, to practice. And why does just starting work? Well, that's because the most motivating and inspiring part of creating an artwork is not the finished piece, it's the journey to get there. And honestly, this applies to much of life. The journey is more important than the destination. It is really satisfying to complete something, but a lot of the time as humans we just move on to the next thing because it's actually the journey that we were craving. So try not to see the end piece as the goal, but actually starting the journey and continuing that journey as the goal. Because really happiness is found in the pursuit of our goals, not actually in achieving them. So why is it so hard to just get started? Well, as humans, we procrastinate. It's easier to procrastinate because that is a habit we've already got embedded. And as procrastination is a habit, it takes a conscious effort to change it. So ask yourself, at the times when you want to be drawing, what are you actually doing instead of drawing? And a lot of the time it is simple short-term distractions such as watching TV or scrolling through your phone. But in the long run, we don't actually feel happier after having scrolled through our phone for 3 hours. In fact, usually it's associated with a feeling of guilt of I should have been doing something else at that time. And this is almost a form of self-sabotage. And it's got a name actually, it's called cognitive dissonance. And the reason we find this cognitive dissonance quite stressful is because we have this intention to do something, but our external actions and behaviours don't match that intention, and that can feel deeply distressing because it's hard to identify why we're not doing the things we want to do. And a lot of the time we use techniques such as distracting ourselves, trying to forget that we're trying to do this thing. Sometimes we trivialise our own goals, so art's not that important. There are other things I could be focusing on. Sometimes we deny our responsibility to ourselves. Oh, I'm too busy, I'm too tired, I've got other things to do. We might question our own ability. I don't have the skills to do this piece of artwork, so I'm not even going to begin. And these are all unhelpful tools we use to justify our procrastination, and it leads even more to that cognitive dissonance that we feel, which is really uncomfortable. That's fundamentally why art block and blank page syndrome can feel so bad. Changing our behaviour is hard, but by knowing that and acknowledging that, it's the first step in just getting started. Now I'm going to move on to the takeaway from this video, the one thing I want you to remember. Your level of motivation right now doesn't need to match what you're intending to do. You don't need to be motivated to start drawing. Just start drawing. You don't need to feel like it to create art. We very rarely have these moments of inspiration, and most of the time they're somewhere really inconvenient, like in the shower or walking through the supermarket, and the best we can do is just scribble those down and hope we remember them for when we are in front of the page and can actually try and get them things out of our head onto paper. So the majority of the time you're not going to be in that feeling of inspiration and motivation when you start. You just need to start. By starting, by doing, that leads to more inspiration and motivation. So really try and make that conscious change and tell yourself, I don't need to be motivated to create good art. I just need to turn up and start, and the motivation and the inspiration will come. Something else I wanted to touch on, which I think is really, really common, is we tell ourselves, I'll probably be in the mood tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it later. But the problem is we are really hard at judging how our mood is going to be, even a few hours away, let alone what it's going to be like tomorrow. The likelihood is tomorrow you might feel the same. It could be weeks and weeks before you feel that inspiration or motivation to actually get going, which is why it's so important to not wait for that motivation, just get started. One of the dangerous things about telling yourself that you'll do it tomorrow or you'll do it later is that in the short term it makes you feel good about yourself. You've made a decision, I'll do that tomorrow. But in the long run, like I said, it's hard to predict how you're going to feel. You might not necessarily want to do it tomorrow, and that actually ends up making you feel worse about yourself. So the process just repeats. And actually, when we have started, our views change. All of a sudden, it's not as bad as we imagined it would be. It's not as hard as we imagined it would be. In fact, we wish we had started earlier. After starting, we feel less resistant, more optimistic, more positive, and more likely to continue with what we're doing. Because really, that progress is what makes us feel good, because we are working towards our goals. So now is the time to start. Try to see yourself as having a creative mindset. Don't sit around waiting for inspiration to occur. Set aside time and energy to give that inspiration and motivation more chance of occurring more often. Just start. So a quick summary of those concepts. Number one, set aside time for creativity, regardless of your mood or motivation at that time. Number two, keep an inspiration or ideas page or journal so that when you do feel those moments of inspiration and motivation, you can capture them and use them when you are feeling a bit of that blank page syndrome. Number three, eliminate those distractions. No TV, no phone, no other people. And finally, just start, just get going. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that's been helpful. Feel free to check out the other videos on my channel, and I will see you in the next one.